Hi guys, welcome to this video. In this video I discuss the strategy that you should adopt for every section, the things that you should cover, what you should do in every section. One very important thing before we actually get started with this video is based on a couple of principles. The first one is that you've got to work hard. Second is you've got to focus on execution. Two things. It's a very common sense based approach. There is no rocket science, right? And that's what this video is based on. I'll highlight what you need to do for every area and which are the things that you should be doing. If you are doing these regularly, great. If you are not, just make sure that you include these in your daily prep. The first thing that you've got to focus on is reading, right? Now VARC, generally when you prepare for reading comprehensions, a lot of us just focus on the practice part. I want you guys to focus on reading as well. So be very analytical about it. Be logical about your prep. How are you logical? How can you be logical with your reading? Make sure you increase your knowledge topic wise, put in a little bit of effort, pick up one topic at a time, topics such as politics, sociology, psychology, etc. Read articles from these areas, increase your knowledge for these areas, right? Make sure you read regularly, you read diversely, you read daily. These are things, and you read topic wise. So these are things that you should be doing. Read 3 to 4 articles a day. That's the minimum that you should be doing. Along with this, remember, this part takes care of your knowledge base, right? So what you're doing for your RC prep is, one, you are expanding your knowledge base. The second thing that you are doing is you are refining your skills, your problem solving skills. What do these skills include? These include approaches for questions. How do you understand tone? How do you understand purpose, main idea? How do you understand the structure of the RC? These are all the skills that you work on. So you've got to do both these things side by side. Increase your knowledge base as well as your skills. How do you do that? You increase your knowledge base by reading. You increase your skills, you enhance your skills by solving RCs. 3 to 5 RCs as possible. Take as many time tests as possible, right? Start with single RC, move on to 2 RCs, 4 RCs. Just make sure you keep increasing that level. The next thing you do is you do not jump to solutions. Once you've solved an RC test, do not look at the solution straight away. Try to analyze it, try to find your errors, try to find what the mistake that you committed, right? Establish problem areas that you're not able to understand. There, for example, you might be very weak with politics, right? You might not understand political context. So go back to the drawing board and read articles on this topic, right? So read more about those areas. Make sure you establish question types which are troublesome for you. So do all these things. Lastly, practice daily without any expectation of reward. You do not know when VRC is going to start clicking for you. It might click after 1 week, it might click after 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 8 weeks, or after 16 weeks. You've got 4 months. Make sure you use every single week. You enhance your knowledge. You keep working on your knowledge goals. You keep working on your skills. Do not expect any reward whatsoever, right? So that's an extremely difficult thing to do. That is almost equating you to a monk, right? So you need that monk like discipline where you do not expect anything in return, but you keep putting in that effort. So that is what you need to do. The moment you disassociate your scores and preparation, you'll begin to enjoy the process. Now when you begin to enjoy the process, you will see that the results will follow. So that is the cycle, that is the virtuous loop that you've got to put into practice, and that is what I want you guys to put into practice here, right? So this is what you do for verbal ability, right? For verbal reasoning, very simple. Verbal reasoning includes topics such as parajumbles, paragraph summary, critical reasoning, para completion, misfit sentences, and odd one, odd out questions. These are all the things that are included. You practice 10 questions a day, leave the rest to reading. You can watch a few concept videos for these topics. All those would have a limited impact. All you need to do is solve 10 questions a day. Even if you're reading very regularly, right? So if there is someone who's reading 8 or 9 articles a day and you decide to skip these 10 questions a day, that is also fine, right? As long as you're reading, you're sorted for these question types. 10 questions a day is a good number. That is more than enough practice, right? Grammar and vocabulary, as you know, there are no direct questions for these topics in CAT. They've not been there for a number of years. No pattern changes expected this year. We can never say never actually, but still going by previous trends. Vocabulary is important from the perspective of enhancing your language skills, right? So if you put in a little bit of effort, learn 8 to 10 words a day, you are indirectly improving your comprehension. There is no direct correlation here, but there is an indirect relationship. Vocabulary while reading, it does have an impact on your comprehension. So if you improve it, if you can spare some time, even if you can spare 15 to 20 minutes a day on a regular basis, that is fair enough. That is what you should be doing. Grammar is optional, purely optional. So if you're only sticking to CAT, and this video only talks about CAT, right? So if you're taking non-CAT exams, then you should study grammar, otherwise you can skip it, right? So I'll not discuss it in this video because this is a CAT strategy video, right? This is what you need to do for the 4 areas in VARC, right? Next area is logical reasoning and data interpretation. The mental approach to LRDI is similar to RC's, right? It's a very similar question type to reading comprehensions, right? It's as much about, see, there is no direct tangible skill in this, right, that you're targeting. In quantitative aptitude, in mathematics, there are direct tangible skills that you're targeting. In logical reasoning and data interpretation, that is not the case. What you should try to do is try to expose yourself to new types of sets, different types of sets. Once you do that, you challenge yourself, right? One thing that I want you guys to do is do not get comfortable with this subject, right? A lot of us have this tendency, say we are solving a particular level of questions. So if I divide 1, 2, 3, if I say there are 3 levels in CAT, right? And level 3 is the toughest, right? You might get comfortable with level 1 or 2 sets, right? And you might keep solving them. That might give you some false hope. That might make you believe that you've gotten very good with this topic, right? When actually that might not be the case. So you want to make sure you are exposed to new types of sets, different types of sets. You are exposed to sets which require you to come up with new approaches. So that is a requirement of the subject, and that is something that you should be doing. One very important thing which is applicable here, especially for quantitative aptitude as well as LRDI, it's applicable in both these subjects. There are a number of us who are not natural learners. So I can talk about myself here, and I can talk about it very honestly. With respect to quantitative aptitude, logical reasoning and data interpretation, I'm not a natural learner. That means if you give me a very unique set in the world, and if you ask me how to approach that, I might struggle with that, right? Because I'm not a natural learner to it. I cannot create new ways of solving that question. My mind does not work that way. But for me, because simply for the fact that I've exposed myself to so many different types of sets, I've solved so many different types of sets, and I've learned how to approach sets, I'm able to solve sets, I'm able to solve questions. So this is where rote learning comes into the picture, right? It's not necessarily a bad thing when it serves a specific purpose. So just by simply practicing a lot of problems, what you've made sure is you've learned how to solve that particular set, right? So that is something that you guys can do and you guys should do, right? Material, what is it that you should be using for LRDI? Previous year CAT exam, mocks of leading institutes, all the leading, we've got 3 leading institutes, I'm not taking any names, but you can solve their current or previous year mocks. These are the best resources for LRDI. There are no books as such for CAT LRDI prep. There is a book by Nishit Sinha, which is a decent book which you can use, right? But other than that, you should not really spend a lot of, you should not waste your time for searching for these books, right? Because they are not, there are not a lot of books out there for it, right? Previous year CAT exams, they are the best resource because these exams have got those different varieties of sets. They've got these new sets. In fact, most institutes, what they do is they make replicas of these sets. So their sets are actually based on the original CAT exam sets itself, right? What is it that you should be doing? You should be practicing 3 to 5 sets a day. You should be taking 1 to 2 section tests a week, right? So make sure you do that. 1 hour tests are super critical. They help you develop mental strength for taking the test. They make sure that you have the necessary amount of patience to take the test, and you develop the stamina to take a 1 hour test, right? Similarly, mocks as well. You should take a full length mock. Your performance in a 1 hour test, your performance in a single set versus a 1 hour section test versus a 3 hour mock test, the performance is going to vary, because as the time increases, right, the demands of the test, they increase. So what happens is the test asks you to do more, right? So you need a lot more energy, you need a lot more stamina. Hence it's important to practice all these different variations, right? And it's important to build your stamina, right? Also, please practice with a timer. Do not avoid that, right? You can probably solve any set if you're given an hour. The challenge is you have to solve it between 10 to 15 minutes in the exam. So that's the challenge you are faced with, right? And hence timed practice is crucial. Do not avoid it. So these are the different things that you've got to keep in mind for logical reasoning and data interpretation. If you keep in mind the next 120 days, if you solve a minimum of 3 sets a day, that makes 360 sets. That's the minimum amount of sets that you can solve. Probably if you solve 5 sets a day, you can take it up to 600. So if you take an average, you can roughly solve 450 to 500 sets, assuming counting for breaks. You can do that from this point onwards till the time you take the exam. 500 sets of good difficulty level, exposing yourself to 500 different kinds of stimuli. Trust me, you're going to do very, very well in the exam. You will do very well in the exam, right? Next topic, quantitative aptitude. What is it that you've got to cover? So this is one area where you've got things to cover. I've just made this slide just for all of you would already know these areas, right? So arithmetic, algebra, geometry, number system, PNC, probability. There are miscellaneous topics such as set theory, coordinate geometry, and trigonometry. These are all the things that you've got to cover. So there is a substantial amount to cover, right? Do not allow yourself to get overwhelmed with this, right? We've covered most of these topics previously. You have studied these topics previously, and you can get through these topics very, very easily, right? What is it that you need to do for these topics? First thing is, please focus on the basics for every topic, right? Shortcuts are of limited help, right? The problem is if your basics are not clear, you'll not be able to apply shortcuts as well. You won't remember them in the exam. Our mind cracks when placed under pressure. So if you're focusing on shortcuts, it's a risky approach to take, right? So I have, personally speaking, I have never been a fan of shortcuts. I just simply know how to approach a problem, what are the basic concepts operating behind it, and I try to implement those, right? Try to practice problems in bulk, but make sure you do not keep solving the same type of problem again and again. A lot of us, we get into that comfort zone, we begin to think that we know this topic, and we keep solving similar problems, right? Just the value change. That does not help, right? So skip those. Also, please do not go through the solutions immediately. In quantitative aptitude, we've got this knack, this habit of checking the solutions, and then when we check the solution, the first thing we think is, oh, this is how it should have been solved. I know this, I can solve this. But when that problem actually, when you've taken the shortcut, right, you basically taken the easy way out, you get a similar problem in the exam, then again you're going to forget, and again you'll not be able to solve that similar kind of problem. Hence, before you look at the solution for any problem, try to solve it yourself. Try to use every possible way of solving it, and then look at the solution. And once you have looked at the solution, try to improvise. Try to make short notes, make mathematics flashcards, note down that problem somewhere, right? So that you can keep revising it, so that you do not miss out on that learning. It's extremely important to do that. So instead of solving, say if you're targeting 50 questions a day, you can probably target 30 questions a day. But make sure you keep this approach in mind, where you're not dependent upon solutions, right? So that is the approach that you've got to keep in mind. What are the different resources that you should be using for conceptual knowledge, right? If your basics are very, very weak, R.D. Sharma, R.S. Agarwal, or NCERT, these books come into the picture, right? NCERT books are very good. These are, when I say NCERT, I mean class 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, depending upon the particular topic and the level that you're starting from. There is no shame in going back to them and studying from these books. In fact, for geometry, NCERT is the best resource, right? So that's where you learn the actual proofs for geometrical concepts, right? And you understand those concepts a lot better. Most of the books written for CAT exam, they take shortcuts for geometry and algebra. They've done a very shoddy job with geometry and algebra, right? And these do not help you with questions, right? Just simply memorizing theorems won't work. You should make sure you understand, right, these concepts, right? So these are books that you can use. My personal preference for books is Quantum CAT by S.K. Verma. Gives you a lot of basic level problems as well. A lot of the problems are repetitive in nature, so you can skip those problems, but does a very decent job overall, right? There is a quantitative aptitude book by Nishit Sinha as well. It gives you some decent good level problems, right? For number system, there is a book, Concepts of Numbers by Gajendra Kumar. I personally like this book a lot, but it's a very detailed book. Also, the fact of the matter remains, number system has lost a little bit of priority over the last few years in CAT exam, so I'm not sure you should be spending so much time on it. So in case numbers is a weak topic and you need to study a detailed, you need to go through detailed concepts for it, this is a good book, good resource, right? Algebra is a tricky one, right? It's very debatable as well. A lot of mentors you'll find out there will debate what is it that you should be doing. For algebra, you can refer to +1 +2 books for particular topics, right? Because you'll find a lot of detail for them. You'll find a lot of basics in NCERT books, 8th, 9th, 10th, right? So those are the books where you'll find the basics of algebra. You'll find some very good applications in +1 +2 books as well. So if you've got time, if you've got energy, you can go through these. Also, please use YouTube extensively. There are a couple of YouTube channels. There's one by Takshila Shikshak, right, which is a very famous YouTube channel, right? So you can go through that as well and go through and learn the concepts for mathematics, right? And for geometry, as I said earlier, NCERT is a good resource. So these are all the different resources you can keep in mind. One more thing that I would want all you guys to go through and all you guys to solve is previous year questions, right? Previous year CAT questions. You get books which have these questions topic wise. You get them on websites as well. So make sure you solve these questions topic wise. In fact, on wordpundit.com there is a mathematics section where a lot of these previous year questions are shared, so you can solve those questions there as well, right? So make sure you solve CAT previous year questions. These are a good resource to learn, right? A lot of very good problems, right? And these concepts repeat. So in mathematics, concepts are repeated in the CAT exam, right? So that's something that you can do as well. One very important thing that I want you to establish here is that what kind of a problem solver you are, because this is going to decide the amount of effort your preparation requires. Now, if you're a natural, when I say you're a natural problem solver, that means you can come up with new ways of solving a question. You can do that, right? If you're a practice driven problem solver, that means you need an approach to attempt a particular question type. If you get a new type of question type, you get stumped by it, right? So if you're a practice driven individual, you need to practice a lot more, right, than a natural problem solver, right? And let's be honest, most of us belong to this category, right? So the moment you identify yourself in this category, there's nothing to be scared of. Most of us belong to this category. Very few people fall under this category, right? So put in a lot of efforts here. The amount of effort required depends upon this, right? Next thing is, based on this, you've got to decide how many problems you solve. Solve as many questions as possible. Please solve previous year CAT questions. These are the most important resource. Take section text, take mocks. Please take up timed practice. As I explained with LRDI, the same things apply here, right? So make sure you do this. Make sure you are very regular with your prep, right? So these are all the different things that you've got to keep in mind for quantitative aptitude and the things that you should be doing right now, right? Along with this, just before we end this video where we've covered what you need to do for the 3 sections, we've got a small slide here as well. Here I am talking about our course. That's something that I've got to do as well, right? The ultimate VRC course is our ultimate course, right? It is the best possible course you need for verbal ability and reading comprehension. We treat reading as one area. We provide support for reading. We give you articles to read, topics to read. We provide you daily reading material, daily reading practice, and we provide you daily motivation to read. We also have got reading concepts. We've got RC concepts. We've got RC practice exercises. 1,000+ RCs in the course itself, so you can never run out of them. We cover vocabulary through 2 books in the course. We have grammar concepts, grammar live classes. We cover reasoning as well. So all the different areas for your VRC prep are covered. We've got section tests, mocks, their analysis, right? The VRC portion, right? And we've got motivation and mentorship. So we make sure we keep you on the right track. So in case you're looking forward to a VRC course, please message us on this number. We'll share more details about the course. Also, you can go to the website learn.wordpundit.com VRC.com, right? There is a link in the description as well, so you can go to this link, click on it. Please register for a demo course there, go through the demo content and understand what the course is all about, right? So in case you're looking forward to some course for verbal ability and reading comprehension, please go through the demo course, and if you find it good enough, right, please get in touch with us. We can help you with your VA and RC prep, right? Thank you very much for watching this video, and hopefully so you learn something new, something vital, something that's going to help you refine your preparation, right? Thank you very much and happy learning.